Changing the suction line here because it is leaking, definitely. I'm also going to change the discharge line on spec because it is the same vintage. It's likely in a similar condition. I'm going to change the desiccant bag. We'll nitrogen sweep it, pressure test it with nitrogen. Assuming everything is tight, then we'll actually vacuum the system down. And then, of course, we'll add the refrigerator. I know I don't need to tell you, but my lawyer tells me I do. I didn't realize the new line didn't come with the elbow here, guys, so obviously it needs to be removed from here and reinstalled here. I'll put the elbow back in, change the O-ring. I'll mention again, guys, my car has an aftermarket compressor. I'm not even sure this is actually on the OEM compressor. Perhaps I transferred it, I really don't remember, so you may or may not need this elbow. That might be part of the aftermarket compressor, I don't recall. So I'm just changing the O-ring over here. Lubricate the O-rings with your refrigerant. Again, I'm using PAG 100. That is not the original spec oil for the system, which is PAG 46. But again, it's an aftermarket compressor that calls for this. Keep the caps on until you've got the fitting right near the port. You know, that way you'll keep any garbage out of the line. This line's all fitted down at the compressor there, guys. You can see there, hooked up to the condenser coil. Going off the suction line here, coupling, just at the low side fitting. And plastic off the left side. And on the forward left side of the radiator, condenser coils in front of it, of course. This is a 10mm, and this is an aftermarket condenser, guys. So just spin this out, and the desiccant bag is within the tube there. There's the cap and the screen removed. It's nice and clean, thankfully. There's the bag, and there's a wee bit of oil that comes out. So I can catch the bag here and the desiccant bag. So clean the screen, new O-rings ideally, lube them up, and don't open the desiccant bag until just the moment before you fit it. Probably should mention the original, if you still have the original condenser in your car, there's a snap ring that you're going to have to remove in order to get the plug out. Good luck with that. So I've got about 100 psi in the system here, guys. Both sides, of course, will balance. And just carrying out a preliminary leak check here. It's just been going for just over a minute. So 2 hours has elapsed, guys, and you can see again the initial pressure, the current pressure has actually gone up by a couple of tenths of a psi, right? Just because of temperature instability in the garage here. So I'm happy with the pressure test. That should be okay. I'll bleed the nitrogen off here and put it under vacuum. So this is a less than ideal setup when it comes to the lines, obviously here, guys, but I was having trouble with my high side fitting. It appeared to be leaking, so I'm just pulling it under vacuum on the one side. Now the vacuum's jumping around a fair bit, and my micron gauge here is jumping around, but it is trending down. Well, it's another additional hour later or so, and it's continuing to drop even lower. So I really couldn't pull it any deeper than that 880 microns that you saw last night, guys. That was as deep as I could get. So I'm going to carry on and service it with this substitute refrigerant Again, I cannot purchase R134A because of the regulations and cost associated with it. It's just absurd amounts of money now for a 30-pound jug of refrigerant. And yeah, so we'll do the best we can with it. So the bottle's hooked up, is pierced, guys. There's a refrigerant in the line up to here, up to the manifold. It's been purged. There's vacuum here. I'm going to control the introduction of the refrigerant into the system via the low side and high side valves. Here's where it's a wee bit different. On the SX4, you hook up the system and you open the high side valve. After a while, open the low side and close the high side. Okay, so it's high side first, followed by the low side, and then you close the high side. Then you start the car, engage the compressor, and continue to add refrigerant via the low side. So it's a wee bit different. So again, just to be clear, high side first, followed by the low side, close the high side valve, start the car with the compressor running, continue to service it via the low side. I hope that's clear. Okay, let's rock and roll. I'll just open the high side here. You'll hear the refrigerant flowing in. Maybe see it. You can see it there on the sight gauge. It's getting pulled now. It's broke the vacuum, of course. You can see the vacuum disappearing. So it's being pulled under vacuum. Continue to pull in. So you're essentially pre-charging the system, which obviously the compressor needs a certain amount of pressure. The system needs a certain amount of pressure in order to allow the compressor to engage. So once basically the system in the bottle comes to equilibrium, still flowing in. You can see by the sight gauge there. That's about halfway, I would say, guys. And then it says to open the low side, so I'm just going to open the low side a wee tiny touch. Don't want to slug the compressor. And now I'm going to close the high side here. Okay, so now start the car and continue to service it. Open your garage door so you don't kill yourself when you start the car, and make sure all your lines are clear. Okay, so car's running, guys. Trying to engage the AC. Hopefully the pre-charge is enough that it'll engage the compressor. And it is in fact running. I can hear the compressor running. So the ambient temperature in my garage is only, let's call it 16 degrees. So these numbers, although very low, I don't think they're as low as you think. And that bottle's empty. See the frost on it? I think we need another half can, but not that much. Although those pressures look ridiculously low, again, it's only 15 degrees. So I've got the can up right now, guys, so I can continue to charge the system in a vapor state. And once you start the engine, you're supposed to hold it at 1500 RPM. So I'll get my missus to do that for me, and we'll just bottle feed the system until we hit what we think is the sweet spot, about half of the contents in that can. Ish. What's the temperature there, Lisa?
53.
What's the temperature?
50.
So don't forget to put your service port caps back on. Nothing smacks of amateurism more than that. I'll put a notation on my sticker here. This is just about the tracer die. And I'll put a notation on here, a sticker with respect to what refrigerant is actually. So just a general health check here, guys. It's critical the line temperatures are sensible, right? So the suction line here with the system operating is cold. I can feel the moisture on the hand there. The discharge line is hot. I can just keep my fingers on it for a few seconds. And the liquid line here, about ambient temperature, maybe a wee bit warmer. 75 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe. Yeah, 25 degrees C-ish. Just a guesstimate. Critical this one stays cold for the sake of the cooling for the compressor. You can really piss around testing things in your garage, you know, till doomsday, trying to performance test the system, but at the end of the day, are you comfortable when the car is driving at your typical speeds? So typically this car does 95% highway driving, so we've got plenty of airflow over the condenser, which is good because every component in this thing is pretty much aftermarket now. The condenser, the compressor, the evaporator. I've changed pretty much everything with the exception of the expansion valve. And as you can see here, I've got 60% fan speed, just so you can hear me on the video, and the duct discharge is right around 50 degrees. So the skill is actually in whether the system will continue to operate in a healthy manner for an extended period of time. That takes skill, that takes patience, that takes knowledge. I don't have any of those things, but I'm working on it, you know? So I'm happy with this. I've guessed at the massive refrigerant that should be in the system again because of the constraints upon me. But if it stays like this in a stable manner, I will consider this a success. That's it for now, boys. Cheers.